the whole point of this was to get on to do some chatting, say what's up. It's Friday evening, so people might be out having fun. I'm here just hanging out at the house. um, yeah, it's a chill night here, but yeah. So we'll let some people get in. We'll hang out for a minute, and if you guys have questions, just drop them in the comments, and I'll start answering them. But let's talk about what I've got going on. So, I've got a bunch of knives sitting here with me, and some of these are for an upcoming episode, and I'll hit on them. But this is what I can't stop fidgeting with lately. You guys have seen this before on the feed. This is the Kizer Laconico Yorkie, and just, I mean, like, you can't beat it. It's so good. But that's what I've got. That's what I carried today. And then I was doing some lanyard maintenance. Like I just threw something on this one just to have. I didn't feel like I had the right bead for it, so I threw something on it. But it's got this cool slip, so it kind of matched the slip and makes it easier to get in and out. And I got this bead in today from EDC Booze. So I'm going to charge it up real quick with the UV. But yeah, you can see it it's pretty cool. It's kind of hard to see it with the light, but yeah, I've got that on the fisticuff from Black Cross Leather. This thing is sweet. And what other knives do I have? So I'm doing an episode here pretty soon on small knives, specific small knives, and so I've got a few that I'm going to make sure I talk about in the episode. One of them is the CRKT Tuna Compact, and this is actually the largest knife that I'll talk about in the episode, and it's the Tuna, if you've ever seen it, is beefy, but this is sort of your normal. Right now, got the nice guy bead. Oh, nice. Yeah, the nice guy beads are sick. I constantly miss on nice guy drops, and one day I'll get something, but I just haven't. Other EDC do you like? Think knives and bags. Wait, say that again. What other EDC do you like other than knives and bags? So I think you're asking what other stuff do I like other than knives and bags. So for as long as I can remember, I have been like a gadget trinket fan. I've always been a collector of some kind, whether it was coins or rocks when I was younger, Pokemon cards. I mean, for those that don't know, I'm a bit of a fan. But no, you're good. You're good. I was able to decipher. Yeah. So I appreciate anything. What I've found recently is it's way more about the people. And so I try to collect stuff, from the EDC world that has some good folks tied to it. So I like beads. I kind of sold off most of my bead collection a while back, and I'm slowly building it back up. So like this OEG bead, I've got a few of these. This is one of my absolute favorites. I don't know if you guys can see this. There's maybe like two of these that exist. I can't get it to focus. It's too small. But this is from my friends over at Turning Point Machine Works. I reached out and just said, hey, can you make a small pineapple bead? And this one is actually kind of one of the like rough first runs that they did just to kind of test it. And then they dialed it in. And I have one. Hang on. Oh, I forgot I'm mic'd up. You guys can still hear me. At least I think you can. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So they kind of landed on this design, which I also love, and I have a couple of these. I have one in Mokume. I'll get that too. This one's like fancy. Really, really love this bead. And again, the lighting and the focusing, like it's not great, but really cool bead. So I have a couple of those, but this one in particular is special. I want to say it's the only one they made that's this size, and it is to date like the perfect bead size. Period. Like I love how thin it is. There's not a lot of body to it, and that's something I find with a lot of beads. Like I really like this bead on this, but it's too chunky to be a bead on like a knife this thin, you know? So I'm picky about beads, but I really like beads just in general. John Brown has been on the show, Scoopy Loops, so big fan of his work. And yeah, I mean, aside from knives and bags, I mean, pouches, obviously, you guys have seen, if you look on my feed at all, my Ranger Eye sort of patch board there. So I do collect those, but it's not so much like I'm going out and trying to find everything. It's the ones that I think are cool and the makers that I think are cool. And I kind of try to build my collection around that. So I like patches, I like pouches, I like beads. I'm not a flashlight guy. That's like something I've had to come to terms with. I want to be a flashlight guy. I think there's a lot of really cool ones out there. But I've just not found the one. And well, okay, that's not entirely true. I have found the one. If I'm gonna pick one, it would be the one that I own two of. These are the only two flashlights I own. But to me, they're almost perfect. These are the Raylight mini pineapples. These are both titanium versions. This is the smooth barrel. This one, I don't know if you can see it because of the light, but this has the Urban EDC Supply Sagaiha pattern engraved on it. It also has the Damascus cap with the little blue trit in there, so it, even in the dark, makes it really easy to find. But anyways, these are great. They're really complicated to program, so because they're the only light I own, just going back and forth, like muscle memory, I know how to operate these, and I'm okay with that. Like they just work. Now, it would be, if I could figure out how to get it to click and it's on, click and it's off, and there's no like high, low, medium, that would be ideal. I just want like a nice medium beam and then it's off. But through, use or just half pressing, whatever, it'll go to like this ridiculously high setting. But again, I don't use flashlights a ton. I mostly just really like this one because it's called the Pineapple, and I don't know, it kind of works. So, but I hope that answers your question, man. I kind of try to sample a little bit of everything, and I try not to keep my focus too narrow because there's a lot of really good stuff out there outside of just knives. Of course, I've got the beer bomb from Notorious EDC. I have a couple of those, and just some other odds and ends and trinkets. I mean, you guys saw like this little guy. He's been with me on and off for several years. Really dig this piece. But outside of a bottle opener, this doesn't serve much function. So yeah, that is all I've got on that question, I think. I did have a question that came in on the Facebook group that I thought was interesting and I wanted to answer. And B. Switzer says, just ordered my first ever bead from Scoopy Loops today. Man, if you got on his website and ordered, like, that's, let me tell you, that's an accomplishment. So I actually sat in on a Scoopy drop a couple days ago. I was going for the butterscotch micarta, and yeah, I think everyone was going for it, and I missed out. But I guess I was quick enough. I went back and the pigeon bead, the cube that he's got here. I'll see if that one right in the middle. Boop. I got one of those. It's sitting in that cabinet that I was just digging through. I'm not a big copper fan, so I'm actually probably gonna trade it off for something that's either what just happened? My gimbal was like, I quit. Anyways, so I think I'm going to trade it off for something that's non-metal, because that bead, it's a sizable bead and it's copper, so it's pretty beefy, and it's just too bulky for me. So yeah, but I had a question from the Facebook group, and I wanted to answer it because I thought it was really interesting. So Jonathan Ross on the Facebook group said the podcast is very knife focused. While it's cool to hear about, are you planning to widen the scope to incorporate more EDC items such as pens, fidgets, bags, flashlights, and other random items? I'd love to hear from manufacturers from a wide product scope and learn about their processes as well. So yes, absolutely. That's actually already happening. So for the most part, I don't go out of my way to focus on knives. It's just kind of topical for me because that's probably the item that changes the most in terms of what I carry. I have several. What? Why is my gimbal does not like life today? What is happening? Are you guys seeing? Okay, anyways. We're going to pretend that that's not happening and hope that it stops. But no, I mean, the thing that changes most frequently is my knife, right? So my wallet, I don't change a whole lot. Once I kind of get into a groove of something I like, I kind of leave it. I do kind of flip-flop between like some secondary knife carries. You guys know I'm a big fan of the McBee, so I carry the McBee a lot, but for the most part, like the knife is what changes the most. Yo, what's up? Yo, been a long time. How you been, dude? Man, so yeah, so that question, right? He's basically asked like, hey, are you gonna kind of broaden out, branch out? Yes. So I've been working kind of in the background, behind the scenes, recording episodes. So you guys heard the last two. I had John. I'm thinking about Scoopy Loop still. I had Lucas Burnley on, and then we talked to Eddie from OEG. Shout out Eddie. Cannot wait to see how everything goes at NYCKS. So you know, Eddie, yes, a knife maker, but also like a ton of other stuff. Same with Lucas, right? Lucas, yes, I think primarily knife designer, knife maker, but we talked a lot about some of his other gear and you know, the Sci-Pop and some of the story around that. And then coming up, I've got I spoke to someone from Big Idea Design. So if you guys don't know, and I don't know if it's Big Idea Design or Big Eye Design. I hear it both ways, right? So it's one of those. But if you guys haven't seen it, I'm a big fan of the mini bolt action. I have this one in titanium, and I carry it literally everywhere I go. It's the only pen that I really keep in the rotation now because it's just, I mean, let's compare it to the flashlight, like match made in heaven, right? They're the exact same size. It's so perfect. So I had Joe from Big Idea Design on the podcast and got that recorded, and so that'll be coming out here in a couple weeks. And then today, I'm trying to think when it's going to come out. So today I actually had a conversation with someone that's not really, I wouldn't call him a maker, not yet, but I had, if you guys are on YouTube, go check out Brandon from Everyday Minimalist. And Brandon and I chatted for well over an hour. We recorded about an hour and 10 and then continued the conversation off air for another 30, 45 minutes. So it was really great to talk to Brandon, but that's one where we don't talk, I mean, we talk about knives, but we really talked about like him becoming a full-time YouTuber and things like that. And so it was we were way less focused on knives in that episode. So when that comes out, you guys will hear that. And Brandon's just awesome. Love talking to him. There's a few other folks that I've got kind of in the queue for episodes that are not knife makers. And I'm working on trying to do more than just knife. For me, it's just like, for so long, it's been fascinating to hear the stories and the ins and outs of people that design and make knives. Just because I just think there's just so much intricacy there, and it's sort of the core of the hobby. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think it's still true, but I think that there are other things that are equally as intricate that would be exciting to talk about. So I'm bringing some folks like that on. So I hope that answers that question, right? Just kind of branching out, trying some new things, and talking about stuff other than knives. Yes, I plan on doing that. I think my reservation has always been, what's the phrase? Hang on, I'm yeah. Dance with the one that brought you. Is that the right phrase? I wanna keep talking about knives because it's kind of where I got started with all this, right? Um, but it is the Everyday Carry podcast, so there will most definitely be more EDC stuff, and I plan on branching out outside of knives, flashlights, pens, wallets, pouches, right? That's kind of the core. But I definitely plan on doing more around, stuff like I know I've talked about it a little bit, but like my iPad has changed my workflow completely, and I don't go anywhere without it because it's just so good at what it does for me. So that's a part of my EDC that doesn't get enough love because it's not the typical EDC item. Someone asked me, are you going to Blade, Texas? So I really, really, really wanted to go to some knife shows this year. And Blade Show Texas, for those that don't know, is coming up in about 3 weeks. It's March 17th and 18th in Fort Worth. And I will not be attending. It is, so a few things. Big time commitment. It's not that big of a time commitment, but it is, a travel day, 2 days there, travel day back. And I got 2 small kids. I got a wife that's pregnant, and I got a day job. So carving out the time, especially like right now, there's a lot going on at the day job that I can't push aside. And so then my thought was, well, what about Blade in Atlanta? It's later in the year. The problem with that is it's just a big financial commitment, right? So while I would love to just spend the minimal money necessary to go, I think that would be fine. But when I get there, I know that I start walking up and down those aisles and looking at all the booths. I'm going to come home with some really cool stuff. And then I'm going to sleep on that couch right over there because of it. No, but yeah, so I think next year, obviously I'm going to keep putting it up as a goal to get to one of these shows, whether it's Blade Show West, Blade Texas, Blade, New York Custom Knife Show, something. Because I want to take the phone and the mic and the podcast and get it out in front of folks. So definitely be fun, but it's not happening this year, unfortunately, which stinks. But it's one of those things where I'm good buddies with a bunch of folks that are going, and so I'm gonna appreciate from the sidelines. And I'm working on some stuff where I'll be there in spirit. I can't share a whole lot of that just yet, but I'm working on some pretty fun things, and we'll see. Like I said, I can't share a whole lot yet, but I'm gonna try to be there in spirit at least for a little bit. Man, let's look at some of the other knives that I've got on the table. I don't think I showed all these. So I did show this guy. This is the Tuna Compact. If you like Lucas Burnley, even if you don't know Lucas, trying to think of the best way to describe this that doesn't sound offensive, because I love this knife, but it is just a plain good knife, if that makes sense. So it's a frame lock. It's good. It's sleek. It's imagine like the Lander from NAFS, or the Lander. That's a good comparison. It's similar size and all that, but it's like the Lander but with a little more style, right? It's sort of that level. I love the lines on it. Lucas did an amazing job designing this thing, and bringing it down to a compact makes it something I would consider, because it's not a beast. It's still on the larger side of what I would carry, but for what it is, the action's really great, and it's a frame lock, which is really nice, and it just looks cool. So this is one that I'm going to be talking a lot about. Sorry, my phone's giving me notifications. So yeah, this is one I'm going to be talking about. But some of the others, right? This thing is funny. So this is the CRKT Squid Compact. Now, I've had a Squid. I've not had one of the newer Squid 2s, but this thing, it's almost comical when you take it out of the box, because it's so tiny. It is assisted, which I'm not a huge fan of, but on something this small, it fires like a little rocket, and it's perfect, and I love it. But if you've ever held a Squid, if you've ever used one of the Squids from CRKT, if you closed your eyes and didn't know what this was, and you closed your eyes and someone put it in your hand, you'd be like, oh, this is a tiny version of the Squid. And so by that I mean, like, they've nailed the fit and finish and look and feel in the lines, and it is, when you're holding it, it is undoubtedly a Squid offshoot. The only complaint I have about this one is the flipper. And Lucas explained it on his podcast. He was talking about, just something this size, it's nice to be able to have that. But I have purposely and intentionally only used the thumb stud when I've carried this, and it's such an addicting little action. It's so good. So I wish there was no flipper. I understand his reasoning behind it. I may end up shaving off this flipper, just deleting it. Because it would still function really, really great. You just take this piece off here, and it would be awesome. I mean, it is awesome, but it would take the one complaint I have about this away. But it's still super fun, and it's really fidgety, and I've enjoyed carrying it. The other one I've got is, you see a theme here. There's compact knives, it's small knives. That's what we're going for. Oh God. The chat has been, oh my God, there's been people, oh my God, I'm so sorry. The chat has been like stuck up top. There's been people that have been talking. Let me catch up. Finn says, what's your favorite thing going on in the hobby right now? I hear you ask all the time. Thought I'd ask you. No, appreciate that. Thank you. My favorite thing going on in the hobby right now, I've kind of hinted at this a few different ways, but like, just the people, man. It seems like right now there's a lot of really great people, and that to me is good. I love the success that folks like Eddie from OEG are seeing, because he's really talented, he's really driven, and he's just a great dude. And so I love these smaller makers that are popping up. You think about folks like that didn't exist a year or two ago, Modern and Geek, Data, who else am I thinking of? But all of the 45, right? Like, I say a year, but like in the last year or two, it seems like more and more folks are showing up, which is really great. Can't wait for that episode. Talk to Brandon often. He's a great dude. Yeah, Brandon's really cool. Everyday Aaron says, I'll be at Blade Show Atlanta. I use it as the ability to get new knives in hand and not a shopping run. Would love to see you there. Shoot. I'd love to be there one day. B. Switzer says, any new merch coming out? Maybe. I can't talk about that a whole lot. Andrew says, let's chat about next year's Blade Show. I work for House of Blades. Dude. Is that for real? That's what's up. Shut up. That's so cool. Okay. I'm gonna hit you up in a minute. The Squid Compact looks like a Wesson knife at first glance. Yes! I hadn't thought of that. Yes, it does look like I forget what it's called. I forget what it's called, but it's the Wesson, is it the micro flipper? The micro blade. Yeah, it very much has those vibes. Yeah. Yeah, Aaron, you knocked it out of the park there. That's exactly what it is. So, hell yeah. But anyways, I lost track. I was catching up on the chat. But so moving through my small knives, right? This is the CRKT Overland Compact. I think it's Overland yeah. So this is designed by TJ Schwartz. If you guys don't know, TJ and Lucas do a podcast together. I've been talking about it like every chance I get because I love it. It's so good. And they just dropped an episode today, and I was a big fan of everything they were going on about. So I didn't really know TJ before I started listening to the show, and whenever they were talking about these compact knives they were coming out with, I was like, I got to check these out. And this was a design, when I saw it, I was like, oh, 100%. So I've really, really enjoyed carrying this one. It seems really beefy until you deploy and kind of get it in hand, and it's so thin that it just makes up for the girth of the blade. Girth. Oh, but anyways, yeah, this is another one I'll be talking a lot about. And I should mention, while I'm here, and you guys, if you're listening, I may take this audio and post it on the pod feed. But if you're listening, I'll give you guys a kind of an early preview. CRKT was nice enough to send us the Squid Compact, the Tuna Compact, the Overland Compact, and the last little tiny knife from CRKT, probably one of my favorites from the bunch, is this little CEO micro flipper. This thing is such a fun little knife. I'm a fan of the CEO, and this is like a tiny version of it. It's super compact. The knife I just showed, are you asking about this one? This is the Overland Compact from CRKT. It's designed by TJ Schwartz. It is, so surprisingly, what I will say that I really like about this thing, yes, it's a small knife. When you compare it to like the Squid Compact, like it's small, right? It's a small frame, but I love how wide it is, because when you have it in hand, and I don't have big hands at all. This is like, I like wear like a medium or maybe a large glove in like the latex when I'm working on knives and stuff. I can still get a really solid grip on it because it's pretty wide. It fills out the hand. So I don't need this fourth finger, even though I kind of get a little bit, but it's really solid. And if you weren't talking about that one, this is the CRKT Squid Compact. I also showed off the Tuna Compact. And then this one is the CEO. I believe it's the micro flipper. This thing is so cool, and it fits so well in any like pouch. It just tucks down in there. So uh, yeah, so those are some of the small knives that I've got. I've also got one other that I'm really excited. It's this guy. I posted about this a few times. This is the 45 Rio. It's made by Concept. It's designed by 45, and I'll be honest, when I got it, I was like, man, this is similar to a McBee, but not the same. Yo, what up, Mitch? Hey, dude. It's been too long. Um, yeah, so when I got this, I was like, okay, first thing I noticed, there was no pocket clip, and I thought I was going to hate that. But because of how small it is, like, it just works. And the first few times I tried to open it, it just didn't work. I was getting in the way of the blade. And just like any knife, new knife, you got to kind of figure out the sweet spot and the action on it. But now it's so fun. It's such a solid little tiny knife, really great design. But another one that I'm going to be talking a lot about in the upcoming episode. And that's about it for knives that I've got on the table. B. Switzer says, what is one knife that you just do not like at all? I'm going to start some fights, and we're going to get juicy here. It's not juicy, but I'm going to offend some people. I do not care for the PM2 or the Para 3. I think they are two of the most overrated knives in the industry. Now, having said that, I understand a lot of people really like them. They're just not for me. I've tried them. I've carried them. Compression locks are just weird to me, and I never really fell in love with them. Now, I've seen some, I won't say heavily modified, but I've blasphemy. Well, so it's one of those things where it's like, I don't, I've had a few of them. I've had some of the regular PM2s, and I've had two different Para 3s. I've had the regular one with the G10 scales, and then I've had the lightweight one. And I'm just not a fan of the blade shape, and I don't know. I don't love them. I've tried, but just not one of the. To me, it's a very like utility focused knife. It's very functional, works. They're great, and that's not to say the reason I don't like them has nothing to do with the quality or the function. I'm just not a fan of the design. Now, what I was saying is I've seen some. I won't say heavily modified, but I will say like modified that I really do like, and those are the ones that have like the scales that have been kind of skinnied out and that belly's been pulled back a little bit. And yo, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Yeah, I just that's one knife. So for those that are I just saw a few people jump on. So for those that are jumping on now, the question was, what's one knife that you just don't like? And my answer, as controversial as it can be, the PM2 and the Para 3. They just don't do it for me. And if that doesn't offend you, I feel like this next part will. But what I will say is, in addition to those two, there are very few Benchmades that I like. Like, I love the bug out. I especially love the mini bug out. But outside of that, there's a lot of Benchmade knives that have a ton of hype that I just cannot get behind. I'm not a fan of the 940. I'm not a fan of, I don't think I'm really a fan of any of their OTFs. But yeah, I don't like the 940. I don't like the, what's another one? Don't say the 940. Yeah, and it's one of those things where I think about preference, right? And I'm usually about a sub 3-inch blade fan. If you can't, I mean, if you can't tell from the 9 different ones that I just showed, but a 3.4-inch blade is just larger than I would like to carry, and I also just think that I like a little bit more belly to the knife. I don't know if that makes sense, but let me try to elaborate, right? So like here, definitely some belly here, and some bulk on the handle. Um, when you think of, I can't reach it, but the GEC 25, small knife, spear point blade, knife perfection in my opinion. Like just a great design, really really good looking, and same thing here, right? So super clean lines, love a spear point blade, um, and that's I think that's probably most the reason why. But yeah, PM2 Para 2, or excuse me, PM2 Para 3, and a slew of Benchmade knives are on my least favorite lists. I'm trying to think if there are any others that are just like really hot knives that I'm not a fan of. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to Blade HQ and I'm just gonna go to like knives and go to popular. I'm gonna see if there's any others that um, I'm like trying to make enemies right now by talking about all these knives that I don't like. No, those are pretty much it. Oh, as funny as that is. Oh god. Now, if you want to talk about, uh, well, okay, so let me answer this question from, uh, okay, so Eric says, I like my Little Natives more than my PM2s. Yeah, so the Little Native is one that I have not really tried. I feel like there's there's the Little Native, and then there's, let me find the name. Um, so the Chaparral, am I saying that right? If I'm saying it right, give me a thumbs up or something. Uh, Norseman and Rosie aren't for me. So the Rosie I like. Again, I think it just goes back to kind of that design aesthetic that I like. The Norseman is like it was one of those crazy hyped knives, and I don't care for the knife, but like learning more about uh, you know Grimsmo in general, and everything that they do, like that's what's fascinating to me. I don't love the Norsemen from a visual standpoint, um, but I think like learning about their ins and outs and how their attention to detail and how they machine everything, like that's impressive to me, and that's why like I like it, or I respect it, right? Um, yeah, so the going back up before I forget these, the Little Native and the Chaparral reminds me of the Little Native in size and kind of design a little bit, and I think that's the one I've had. I'd like to try a Little Native, but again, it's a compression lock, so it's just not for me. I don't, not that that would completely turn me away from it, but not something I'm going to go after. B Switzer says, "What started the love of minis?" Man, so honestly, like, so for those that don't know, I'm South Texas, and like 11 and a half months out of the year, it's hot here. Like, it's bad. And so I try to keep everything that I carry really minimal. And of course, I'm wearing a hoodie when I say that, but anyways, I try to keep everything that I carry minimal, slim, just because the bulk makes it uncomfortable when it's humid and all that. And I got kids running around, I'm chasing them. I don't need an 8-pound knife in my pocket. So I think from a utility standpoint, like small knives just made sense. I was actually telling this story today, but I had Jonathan McNeese on the pod, and I heard the story about the McBee, and it was one of those knives that I'd gotten, and I tried it, and I was like, there's no way, this is not for me. And then after I talked to Jonathan and kind of got to know him and heard the story behind it, I was like, I got to give it another shot. And I fell in love. Like it just clicked. It just worked. And for what I use a knife for, I mean, like literally today I opened 3 packages, and I don't need, a katana to come out and open packages. So small is just, for me, it's a little bit of practicality. It's a little bit of, comfort, and I just like some of these cool designs. Like, I mean, this thing, like, this is sweet. It's tiny, and it just works, and it's all the edge that I will almost ever need, right? And I have, like my Lander, my Banter, I have the Drop Bear, like those are on the larger side of what I normally carry, and those are kind of like my workhorses when we're doing projects outside, or if I'm working out in the yard. Like, I like to have a knife, and I'll carry something that's a little bit bulkier, and I don't mind, beating up too bad. So let's scroll down here. Why you so handsome? Can I get your number? Yeah, Ty, you can. Yes, I feel like you have my number. Did you lose it? Did you get a new phone? Eric says, I don't like the McNeese Mac models. I think it's poor basic. There's nothing about them that is offensive to me, but there's also nothing that pushes me to go after one. Like, I haven't had the chance to handle one. It may be one of those things, sort of like a Chris Reeve, where, not that I'm putting them in the same box, right? But a lot of times when I'm talking to folks that are not into knives, and I'm talking about prices and stuff, the Chris Reeve Sebenza was one where, until I genuinely believe this, until you handle one, you just don't get it. And then when you get it, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Totally worth it. But yeah, so maybe that's the case with something like the Mac models. But again, not ones that I'm chasing after to get. North Edge says, the irony of carrying minis in Texas. Yeah, I mean, like, yes, I mean, like, I don't need a bunch of knives and big knives. It's not for me. Small is perfectly fine, right? I'm not trying to impress anybody. And like this is one of my latest, and even this is like larger than what I normally carry, but y'all know I had to support Tom, and this design is just so sick, and I love the all black. Like, super cool design, super cool look. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty. I hope that answers those questions on small knives. Ty says small knives are king. Yeah, I mean, I think the one, like, small knife that I got rid of, and I'm not mad that I got rid of it, but I'm mad that I didn't get another one. So for a hot minute, I had a UTX 70. So for those that don't know, it's a Microtech. It's an OTF, and it's probably about this big. Like, it's small, and it's super fidgety, super clacky, and actually, this is probably pretty close to how big it is. That's what no. Okay, stop. But I had a UTX 70, but I bought it like brand new, and it was the Hellhound in the like the bronzed finish. And I think at that point it was like the most expensive knife I'd ever bought. And I just felt bad. I didn't want to like beat it all up. And so what happened was it just kind of sat, and I stopped wanting to actually use it because it was such a good knife. It looked so good. So like now, I ended up selling it, and I got my money back out of it, so I wasn't mad. But now, like, the one thing I think that's missing from my collection is a small OTF, and so I think, right place, right time happens. I'd love to get a UTX 70, like something with a drop point and just like a user that I could carry on, because that'd be a small, lightweight knife that would fit in pouches and pockets and all that stuff, and it would just be super fun to use on a regular basis. So yeah, I think that's like the only, that and the Microtech Runt. And for those that don't know, the Microtech Runt is a super snappy, great looking knife. It is, I'm just going to do this crude thing again where I pick up my iPad. But it's a really small auto. And ProTech makes some really great knives, really great autos. And not that these are in the same ballpark at all, but I'd compare it to like a Kershaw Launch, I think it's the 4. So the Launch 4 is, yeah, so the Launch 4, it's got a dagger style blade, but it's like 1.9 inches, really short. And there's only one sharpened side. There's only one true edge on it. But it is a tiny little pocket rocket. Like it's the perfect little auto. I liked that one. I didn't love it, but I like the blade shape on the Runt much more. So I feel like that's kind of the other one that's on my tiny knife wish list, I think. But yeah, so what else can we talk about? What else is going on? For those that are here and maybe missed the first section of this, just to give you guys a bit of a preview. So the next probably 2 episodes will probably be me. I'm going to talk about tiny knives and talk you guys through some of my favorites and what I think are worth checking out. And in about 2 to 3 weeks, I'll have Joe from Big Eye Design on. These guys are so sick. Love this little guy. So we talk about their current Kickstarter project and kind of their story, and it was super interesting. Really enjoyed that conversation. Today I recorded an episode with Brandon from Everyday Minimalist. If you guys are on YouTube at all, if you've ever looked at Everyday Carry stuff on YouTube, you've seen Brandon somewhere in there. So I talked to Brandon today, did like 1 hour and 10, and then talked for like another 45 minutes offline. And it's super great conversation. So that's what's coming up. And then I will say, again, huge shout out to CRKT for sending over the Overland Compact, the Squid Compact, the Tuna Compact, and this little guy. I haven't decided which 1 or 2 of these I'll be giving away. Probably be giving away this one after that episode goes live. And I don't know, maybe the Squid. I don't know. But I'm going to be doing some giveaways on some of these knives because they were kind enough to send them to me, and they said, hey, you can hang on to them or you are free to give them away. And I said, well, how perfect. I'm going to talk about them, and then I'll do that. This one's staying with me because I just love it so much. It's such a good knife. Beefy. It's probably going to be like one of my new work knives. And then this one, I'm a fan of Richard Rogers, and so anytime I can have something designed by him. So these 2 will probably stay, and then these 2 will probably go. So Ty, I will tell you, I know you've handled a tuna before. It is like pound for pound, it's a tuna, but it's just smaller, and it's so good. It's a design that lent itself very, very much to being shrunken down. Whereas if I wasn't into knives and you told me like this was the only like I would never have guessed there was a larger version of this, because it's just such a, like what I would call like a normal size. I know that's a weird word, but it's very normal in terms of how big it is. It's not too beefy, very streamlined. The only complaint that I have on this one, and I think it might be across CRKT, because I feel like the same problem kind of exists on the Overlander. So because they're frame locks, when they're machined, this edge right here, where the lock bar's cut, it's really sharp. So it's one of those things that I think over time kind of wear down. You'd get used to it, but more so on this one because it's right where you're gripping. This edge right here, and it's a lot more exposed edge than what you'd see on this one because it's just so small, and the clip covers a good portion of it. But this edge right here is a little sharp. But other than that, and again, I think that that's just kind of product of, what do these guys run? $60. I don't want to be wrong. Oh, $60. I was way off. Was way off. Samsonite. These are $47. So for a sub $50 knife, this thing is gorgeous. I mean, just in terms of like the action and the aesthetics, and it's not fancy steel. I'm pretty sure it's 8CR13 MOV. So I mean, it's your sort of typical budget steel, but the design, the action, it's a winner for sure. Like, they did a really great job on it. And I thought about that too. Like, I could disassemble it and probably smooth that out. I just didn't want to do that knowing I was going to like turn around and give it away. I didn't want to mess anything up to change the function. But yeah, so those are the knives that are coming up on, I think, next week's episode. And then I'm going to turn around and give a couple of them away. So that's pretty cool. That's about, other than that, if we want to shift gears and talk about things outside of EDC, day job's been keeping me busy, very busy. Today was a stressful day, but like in the best way. So for those that don't know, my day job is, I do marketing, which I hate saying that because I feel like I always have to explain. I kind of do a mixed bag of things. And I've been at this job for 7-8 months, so it's fairly new to me. But I do a lot of the online stuff, digital, social, the website, blogging and SEO, and coordinating ad placement and all of that stuff. But my boss, the CEO, also does podcasts. Yeah, Ty, thanks for hanging out, man. Definitely need to catch up. We live too close to one another to not hang out every now and again and get a beer and catch up. So let's do that. But yeah, so my boss does podcasts, and they're all. So I used to do media buying. When I got out of college, I went straight to an agency and did media buying for an agency that did almost nothing but podcasts. As funny as it is, that's sort of what kicked off like my love for podcasting, and what kind of gave me the mental, the thought, I guess I should say. This is what gave me the thought that, I could do this. This is pretty easy. But after I left the agency, I started working for a small company as kind of like their catch-all marketing guy, which is pretty common with small businesses. When they get to a point where they're big enough, they need some marketing efforts, but they're not big enough that they can bring on a full agency or multiple people. They'll have one person that kind of does everything. It's an exhausting position to be in, but I was there for about 4 years, and this opportunity came up, and it was almost perfect. So it was essentially everything I was doing in my old job, plus podcasting. And it's so in the 7-8 months I've been there, I've completely taken over all of the podcasting efforts. So I do pre-production, where I coordinate guests and get folks on. Basically the only thing my boss does, and this is not entirely true, it's a little bit of an oversimplification, but basically all he does is hit record and talk, and everything else is handled through me. So yeah, and he does 2 podcasts, and we got another guy at the company that does one of his own. So we have a total of 3, and it's a small little network. It's a very niche podcast, but it's one that I think is sort of necessary for the. So I work. The company is related to oil and gas, and so these podcasts are very heavily focused on that industry, and we have a lot of people that are way smarter than I am that jump on and talk to them, and so it's always it's interesting. Most of the episodes, like when I can follow along, I learn something. There are a few where there's like some PhD that designed the fuel delivery system in I don't know, something crazy. That's way over my head. But yeah, so that's the day job now. So I do a lot of, like today, I'll give you guys an idea. Today, so this morning I had a call at 8:10. We have a team call every day. So I got off the call, and then I went straight into 2 blog posts. One all about federal regulations and some of the findings from last year. So like, it's not always the most interesting stuff, but now I've kind of gotten in the groove, and I know what I'm reading about at least. And I won't say I know what I'm talking about, but I can understand what I'm reading. But I worked on a couple blog posts and got those pretty much across the finish line to publish within the next couple days. I sent off an ad for approval to my boss, just a final thumbs up that I put together. It's going to be a digital ad that pops up on one of our partners' websites. And then I went and picked my son up from school. And when I got back, I had about 10 audio clips and 2 video clips to organize. I had to research all the people in those clips and at least find their LinkedIn so I can like kind of know who they are. And then I did a little bit more scrubbing and trying to find like bios and info and all of that and put that together. And then what else did I do? I don't know. I'm blanking now. It's been a long day. I'm up late. It's 10:20 where I'm at right now, and that's past my bedtime. But yeah, so that's kind of a typical day. Like Monday is mostly meetings. That's like I'm in meetings from 8:10 until 11, and then I have a small break, and then from 12 to 2 o'clock I'm in another meeting. And then I've got a couple scheduled in the afternoon after that. So Monday's a lot of meetings, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are almost always like I sit right so you guys can see. Can I turn my camera around? Yeah. So like I sit here. This is my desk. Those are all my knives. There's my keyboard. But I'll sit here and Ellie, psst, psst. Hi. Okay. Anyways, you guys didn't come see my cat. So the days where I'm just laser focused and working, I sit here. Shout out to Nafs and Chris Reeve. Such a great piece. Love that thing. But this is also where I record the podcast, and I've got a camera up there for video at some point, but I also use it as a webcam. It's like a nice webcam. But yeah, this is the setup. Anyways, that's kind of what, today, had I not needed to go pick up, it was like a half day at school, so had I not needed to go get him, I probably would have sat at this table from, 8:30 or 9 until 4:30, because I just get zoned in and I'll switch between stuff to keep it kind of interesting. I've discovered lo-fi music. This is like, I feel dumb for not knowing this, but this is within like the last 2 months, maybe. I discovered what lo-fi is and subscribed to a bunch of different channels on YouTube and Spotify. And we have speakers. Like we have one, well, you can't see it. I'm trying to it's right back there. That's actually a stand mixer, but behind it, ever so slightly, is a speaker. And we've got one there, we've got one over by the TV, and I've got another one that was in the guest room / office, But since I moved out here and we've got a baby that's taking that room in a few months, we didn't think a speaker was like a good idea. Probably smart. So now I've got an extra one. I got to figure out where it's going to go. It might actually sit at this desk. I don't know. That's a lot. It's a lot more running wires. And I know I just showed you all, this desk is a friggin' mess, but there's this one more wire I got to run, and I've got it pretty dialed in. Of course, it's a mess right now. Lo-fi is clutch for getting in the flow. I don't know how I was like, I didn't know that it had a name. Like, I watch all these YouTubers that do tech reviews and desk setups and EDC stuff, like EDM, Everyday Minimalist. He has really great tracks, and I don't know how I stumbled on it, but I found it, and I was like, oh, this is chill. Like, I need this. And so I started finding, and I went down the rabbit hole, and then Sam, Raven the Pirate, he responded. He was like, wait until you discover Lo-Fi Girl on YouTube. And then I subscribed and listened to that for 6 hours straight because it was great. And then I started getting ads on Instagram for different lo-fi stations, and I've actually found 2 or 3 because of those ads. But yeah, that's something that helps the workflow a lot lately. That and AirPods, like when I don't have music playing through the whole house, like on a really nice day. We've got all these, so we've got windows here, the door, and then what you can't see on the other side of this cabinet is another window, and then around this side, my God, I'm probably making you guys dizzy. Around this side, we've got 2 windows in our living room, and so on good days, I will open all of those and jam music throughout the house. Tropical house isn't too bad. Is that like house music, but it's like vibey, like island vibey? Because that sounds legit if that's what it is. But yeah, I love being in here because we have a lot of light all around me, but not directly behind me, which is great for things like this. Of course, now I say that, then I realize that like all of these lights are super bright. But I'm trying to figure out everything's backwards. Anyways. Yeah. So when I'm not jamming to music with the windows open, I will throw in my headphones, turn on noise canceling, make sure the cat is fed so she doesn't bother me, and then zoned in. And that's my day. It's pretty boring, actually. But there have been some times where, because of my work schedule and because everything is done from home, I have a lot of flexibility. So like I get to take my son to school every morning, which is fantastic. Days like today when I need to go get him, I can go get him. And then today I actually carved out a little bit of time around 9 or 10 this morning to talk to Brandon, Everyday Minimalist. And so we chatted for like an hour and a half, and I kind of made that time up after hours, right? I made that time up between, I don't know, 5 or 6, whatever it was. And yeah, I mean, my boss and kind of the workflow is like, he's cool. He knows as long as I'm getting my stuff done and we're not falling behind, he trusts me to get it done, which is great. It's a good place to be. We had wings tonight. Shout out to anyone that likes hot wings, because I was feeling them today. I'm feeling them right now. I'm super full. I want to go to bed, but I'm having a good time chatting, so I'm going to stay here and we're going to keep talking. I mean, as long as someone's still around. Maybe we'll run this thing all night. No. I'm too old for that. I can't stay up that late. As a matter of fact, like right now, I'm tired. But one other question, and I completely forgot about it. Folks are asking, like, what do I carry out, or what do I collect outside of EDC stuff? So the answer is really simple. It's 2 things. And one of them is lacking pretty intensely lately. I don't know if that even makes sense, but one of them is this kind of stuff. So, and this is my desk. So like right around the corner, we've got this weird little divider wall that is apparently integral to the structural integrity of the house. But I've got my two of my guitars. I have a few of them that I don't keep out, but this is a Taylor 315 CE something or other. I can't remember the model, but my wife got me this for an anniversary present. It's like our 5th or 7th year or something. I don't remember. And then this one, I'm not going to go all the way over there because I'm lazy. But this one is a 2004 or 5. I can't remember what year it was. But it's a 2004 or 5 American Series Standard Strat. It is the Stevie Ray Vaughan signature. I have replaced the SRV pickguard that came with it, mostly because it chipped in a couple places and I didn't want it to get more broken. So that is, oh man, she pretty. And then this is a Vox AC15 something or other. I don't remember. I'm not like a super techie gearhead. I just like what I like. And that amp, I went in for a Fender Blues Junior, I think his model. And I played it, almost bought it. And I was like, let me check out this Vox. And the Vox it spoke to me. So I went in for a Fender amp and walked out with a Vox. And that's a Cream Tolex limited edition something or other, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. The other thing that I collect outside of everyday carry gear, super nerdy, but I collect Pokemon cards. Hear me out. And this is like way off topic. We're not even in the realm of everyday carry stuff anymore. But I think this is sort of where my collector mentality came from. When I was young, I collected them, and so I got rid of, gave away, traded, whatever, sold some really great stuff. But I was able to keep some other really great stuff, and fortunately, it's just one of those things that through moves and all this and that, I never said, you know what, let's get rid of them. So I recently, and okay, so those that don't know now, I have 2 kids, one on the way, so almost 3. My oldest is 5.5, almost 6, and he is in the phase now where he really loves Pokemon, which is awesome, because I do too. I don't know if you guys knew. Anyways, so when I brought these out, he lost his mind. But this is, and so now that's something he and I do together, which is really cool. So, my favorite one of all time, more on that another day. If you really want me to flex, I will, let me see, where's the flex page? This is probably one of the flexiest pages, because of that guy right there. Yeah. That's a base set hollow Charizard from, I don't know, 96, 97, 98. I don't know what it was. Pulled that out of a booster pack from a a claw machine. And I opened it and it was in there. And I've kept it ever since. It's mint. It's not the crazy one that's like 20 grand. Like, I would not have it in this binder anymore. I would have it sold because that's stupid. But a couple $100, but just a cool card, cool memory. But yeah, so this is something that I collect now too. Because, well, again, I should say, because my son really enjoys it and he and I have fun together. And so again, it's something we can go do. And the art has just changed so much on these in the last, I don't know, 10 years. So, yeah, a lot of really cool stuff in this binder. And he's got his own binder. And we trade and go to shops and buy cards. And it's a great hobby. A lot of really great people. Hobby shop owners and employees are like some of the best people ever. in the world. Like, they're just super supportive and super cool. And so we, of course, we buy cards when we go to like Target or Walmart or whatever. But any chance we get to go to like a local card shop or hobby shop, if they have cards, like, we'll go look and we'll try to support them in some way. So a lot of fun doing that. Guys, this has been, I have no idea. There's no like timer on here. So I have no idea how long we've been at this. I've got to imagine we're getting close to an hour, and I'm getting tired. So I'm going to call it. First off, thank you to anyone and everyone that stopped in, even for just a brief moment. Anybody that commented, liked, threw a question up, whatever. I greatly appreciate it. It's really cool that folks would hang out and do this. And I have to do these more often because this is kind of fun. But first off, thanks. Second, make sure you're keeping an eye on the podcast feed. I've got a few episodes already recorded and in the queue for the next couple of weeks. So I'll have Brandon from Everyday Minimalist. I'll have Joe from Big Eye Design. And I've got a few others that I am coordinating with right now to get on. So I'm really excited about all that. And then, of course, one thing that I haven't mentioned a whole lot, but if you guys are ever on the YouTube space, we just broke 600 subscribers on YouTube, which is really cool. But if you're ever bored and you want to throw on some old episodes, or you want to see some of the video episodes that I've done in the past, I've done quite a few, and they're all on there. So everything from episodes like this, where I've taken a live and uploaded it, which I'll probably do some form of that, or episodes 1 through like 80 or 90 are all on YouTube as well. They're just audio, but there's those, and then again, there's some short form content, some shorter videos, stuff like that. I don't have any real goals with YouTube. It's just a thing. Like, it's just one other place to post this stuff up. So definitely go check that out and subscribe if you're not already. If we could get to 1,000, that would be cool. We're getting close. YouTube Shorts is like an absolute beast for growing a channel on YouTube right now. So I'll post one and it'll get, let's see, the last short I posted 900 views, but if you scroll back, 1,500, 5,000, 2,000, like there's a lot of views from just some stupid content. So go check it out if you're bored, if you're looking for something to do. There's some extra videos there. And yeah, I'm gonna go to bed now. I'm tired. I'm up past my bedtime. So thanks again to everyone that stopped by. I'm gonna keep this uploaded on the feed. So if you jumped on late or whatever, definitely come back and check it out. I talked about upcoming episodes. I talked about some really great knives and answered some of your questions. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. Peace.